Welcome to Jibber Jabber Podcast.
That was a wonderful start. Just my mug.
I knew you'd be like, wait a fucking minute. Welcome back, everyone, to the Jibber Jabber Podcast. Our last episode, you guys will have watched live with us, and there was thousands of you that done so. Thanks very much for your support on that. With Dr. Sandra Lean on the whole Luke Mitchell stuff. You can go and check that out on YouTube. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. This week, we will be talking about Armageddon, the 1998 classic made by Jerry Bruckheimer.
Jerry Bruckheimer.
Jerry Bruckheimer.
That'll be Jerry Bruckheimer. He produced it. Remember who the director was? That was a guy called Michael Bay.
Michael Bay, yeah. Which, by the way, this movie kind of has Michael Bay all over it, funnily enough.
It really does. But it's good Michael Bay. It's before he went all transformery.
No, mate. This was the beginning. Right? Because right at this very start, you can hear Optimus Prime literally telling you the story of the Earth.
That's not Optimus Prime.
Mate, tell me that's no Optimus Prime.
I tell you, it's not as Charlton Heston.
But still, though, it does kind of start off like a Transformers movie.
This is the Earth 65 million years ago when the dinosaurs roamed.
I'll finish it. Then a big meteor came, smashed the Earth. It happened then, and it will happen again.
That is
Armageddon.
Verbatim. I'm sure that's 100% right. Then a meteor came and smashed Earth. You're a plum.
A meteor came and smashed Earth. Yeah. It just came.
Yeah. Oh, I know we're nuts. Anyway, so Armageddon, it was something that we put to a vote, but because of the silly voting system that I used, we weren't ever quite able to figure out who actually won, whether it was 2012 not 2012, the day after tomorrow, or Armageddon. So we just went with the one we wanted to do the most, so the vote was meaningless. But thanks for voting anyway. So Armageddon is a film that I've got a lot of kind of fond memories of. I really enjoyed it. I still enjoy it to this day, even though it is utter nonsense. It really is nonsense. But we'll get into all that anyway. First memories. When do you remember seeing Armageddon for the first time? Do you think you seen it when it came out or a bit later?
Probably a bit later, but let me tell you a wee funny story about that, right? The reason I found it is I went into my mum's cupboard, which had lots of tapes, VHS tapes. And Armageddon is also the name of a wrestling pay-per-view. So I'm like this. Oh, Armageddon, that'll be class. I wonder who was fighting in that, Take it through to the room, chuck it in. One time, there was a meteor that smashed all the dinosaurs up. Right? I was like, this isn't how wrestling starts. And therefore, I kind of watched Armageddon, wasn't quite sure what to expect. Quite liked it, but at the time, I was very young, so it was like, I got it, but I get it better now that I'm older, When I was younger, I was like, so who cares? Why did the guy stay on the, on the rock and all that stuff? You question it more when you're a kid.
That's the end. That's the end.
Yeah, but that was my first experience of it. So I got it and I liked it, but I appreciated it more when I was older.
Yeah, it was. I think I seen it not long after it came out because I'm pretty sure that it was actually my twin sister who got it for Christmas. I think a lot of girls liked this film as well. I don't know if it was the whole Ben Affleck, Liv Tyler thing, or whatever, but I think it was quite popular among the females as well.
It's a love story. It's Titanic. It's basically Titanic.
Titanic in space.
Titanic in space.
Essentially. So you're talking probably 1999 when I seen it. And we watched it as a family round about either Christmas Day, maybe Boxing Day, and we all really loved it, man. So it does hold a kind of special place in my little black heart. So just to get into the opening scene of the film, which is the kind of, I don't know, the time warp back to 65 million years ago, and it shows you the meteor smashing the Earth. In fact, I'll talk about the opening credits first. Michael Bay, the credits just have to explode.
Mate, that was class though. I loved it. I was like, yeah.
This was Roland Emmerich did the same kind of things as well, and Independence Day and that. It's like the title will just appear and then it just has to fly out the screen and you're like, okay, I can see where this is going. This is going to Michael Bay. That sounds like a place. Well, we're just heading down to Michael Bay.
Aye, a place where everything explodes.
So you've got Charlton Heston doing the voiceover, not Optimus Prime. But honestly, a close second to Morgan Freeman for voiceover. That's a really good voice.
It is, but you know what? It does. It's tell me that the Transformers movies don't start and end that very same way.
Well, I gave up on them after the second one, so
they all start and end the exact same way. It always starts with one time there was a rock and there was a couple machines and they burst down to Earth to do some stuff, and then it always ends with someone looking at the sky with a bunch of robots going, "And we'll be here till next time," and then a Linkin Park song bursts on, and that's it. It's like Michael Bay film, same thing.
I don't know if it was ever explained. Like, this is a very, very quick diversion from Armageddon, but I don't know if it's ever explained why aliens from another planet looked like trucks. Is that ever actually discussed? Or do they just happen to look like trucks and go, there's similar things on Earth will fit in? I don't know. It's nonsense. Anyway, so grabs your attention. It's quite a cool opening scene. Then you've got the exploding credits. The special effects hold up really well, considering how long ago this film was made. I mean, you're 23 years ago now for Armageddon, which is a scary thought, man. It feels like it was 5 or 6 years. But life is just disappearing, and it's kind of scary. The first scene where you've got the astronaut doing a spacewalk, then there's the kind of small meteor shower that kind of plows through him and the satellite and then goes to the Earth. I knew we were in for some real kind of accurate science when the guy's visor just shatters and he was still able to scream, "Houston!" I don't think so, man. I'm pretty sure your face would have just imploded.
This film's not
Houston! And then on Earth, they're like, play that back. Why? I think you know what happened. Rewind that. So that's the kind of small meteor shower. Then those make it to Earth, and every one of them seems to hit a landmark in Manhattan. It's pretty impressive. You would almost think that somebody had aimed them.
Mate, did you see the guy kicking about with his dog? And his dog was called
Reggie.
Right. That's Eddie Griffin.
I don't know who Eddie Griffin is.
Eddie Griffin. He's in Juice Bigelow.
Oh man, you're stretching here. Like,
he's a great comedian, man. A great comedian. But I was like, no way, that's Eddie Griffin.
I think the guy in the taxi was a comedian as well, but I can't remember his name. But it's American comedians. I don't know a lot of them. I know the really big ones that are over here now.
By the way, we've just made money for Armageddon right there and then.
I know. You're welcome, Michael Bay.
I know. Booked on Sky, $3.99. Better be good, guys. I don't want to lose 2.5 hours of my life. It's class. You'll enjoy it. I would have thought he would have seen it by now. Like, that's the beauty of joining us live here on Jabba Jabba Podcast, is you can have your say. And look at that, we just sold a movie to someone. That's what it's all about.
Wait now, say sold. $3.99. He rented that shit. He has not paid for that. He's not bought that. He must watch within 48 hours.
or your planet will be destroyed again.
So you've got all the landmarks in Manhattan getting wiped out, and for some reason, some comedy thrown in. Didn't quite get the balance of that. It should have been a serious scene. And obviously some casual racism going on as well between the black guy and the Hawaiian. I'm going to throw your fat pineapple eating ass through the window. That was nice.
You not think this, right? See, here's another thing. See when that comet comes down and smacks the big fat guy?
Yeah.
If a comet that just come from space smashed into you, do you not think you'd be in bits? He's just like lying in a hole.
There's a good chance. It's like he just got hit in the head with a golf ball. You know, he's just kind of lying there, half in the hole. But what's funny about that scene is the fact that, I mean, you can tell it's an expensive scene. The special effects are really good, still hold up to this day, but yet there's still certain shots where stuff just explodes for no reason. Did you notice that? Like, you can see, most of the time you can see direct hits from these wee kind of bits of rock that are on fire, causing crazy damage for the size of them. But anyway, occasionally stuff would just explode in the background. You're like, nothing happened there, man. That just Michael Bay'd itself.
Well, it blew up. I think it's just literally the impact of what's going on around. And it literally just goes like that. Well, there's a meteor just landed over there. But over here, I'm like so shocked that I may just blow up.
I think it's they're like, well, there's no point in living now, so I'm just going to explode. And it's funny how it, like I said about the land, it always hits the landmarks, right? It's going for the Empire State Building, the World Trade Center gets it, Central Station gets it. You don't see anybody sitting eating their breakfast getting wiped out in a block of flats. Do you know, it's all look how destructive this is.
You know, it's kind of funny as well. It's kind of funny. This will get us demonetized.
Well, that's funny then.
A few of the meteors hit the World Trade Center, and the Trade Center still didn't turn into dust.
Oh damn it, man! You've done it now.
A plane managed to do what meteors couldn't.
It's a Michael Bay film. I don't think it's scientifically accurate, man.
Just like the actual Twin Towers, then, right?
That's another podcast.
Absolutely.
Did you laugh when the guy fell and smacked off the back of the taxi?
No.
I could swear when that happened, you just kind of hear him falling. You gradually hear the and he smashes off the back of the taxi. And I just thought Kev's going to laugh at that. That's right up his street. I'm really disappointed to hear that, man.
Of course I'll laugh, man. I was howling.
So what's your thoughts on that kind of opening attack? Essentially, it's like an attack scene.
Aye, it's kind of like an attack. And by the way, did you hear the guy going like this? Saddam Hussein is bombing us.
Oh, if you want to age a film, mention him.
Aye. I thought, oh, there we go.
Saddam Hussein is bombing us. It's like, okay, that's presumptuous.
America, yeah. I just thought that was a bit tasteless. It's very propaganda for a movie that will pretty much stand the test of time. You don't think?
It's a very American flag waving film for the start to the finish, anyway.
Yeah, I think here's what gets me is it's like, right, so New York, so that we can see here, New York has just completely been like flattened with these rocks, and everybody's like, oh, we need to prepare for this thing coming. It's like, yo, seeing what's happening? Did you just see what happened there? Like that itself would be quite groundbreaking.
Speaking of that, the guy that discovered the big asteroid.
Mm-hmm.
What an asshole, man.
He is the biggest ass. He's the biggest.
He could be the main villain of that film, man.
Right.
Get that book! Get that book! He just treats his wife like absolute shit. It was actually, it's horrible to watch. You're just sitting there going, oh man, this is...
And he's like, yes. He's like, he phones up the people at NASA and he's like, if I find it, I get to name it. And they're like, yeah. He goes, I'm going to name her Dottie after my wife. And I thought, oh, that's sweet. And she kind of for a second is like, oh, that's nice. And then he's like, because she's miserable and sucks the life out of you.
Yeah, she's like, she's a vicious life-sucking bitch. From which there's no escape.
She seems pretty sound from what we see of her.
I like the fact she just goes like that. It's just so casual. Like she's just bombarded with that behavior all the time. You just know that she's not a happy wife. So he discovers the asteroid. Then we get to see the obligatory sciencey bits where there's scientists in lab coats that are going, "Oh my god, look at this! Did you spot Michael Bay?"
He is the guy that's he's a wee scientist.
Yeah, he's just in the background. He's one of the scientists. He's got the most beautiful hair I've ever seen on a background scientist. The guy's like Tarzan with a lab coat. It's just this beautiful L'Oreal advert style.
There are a few. I mean, this has a really big cast. For Billy Bob Thornton, right? Draco Malfoy's dad. He's in it, I know.
He's wonderful, man. I love Jason Isaacs. I've never seen him bad in anything. I've never seen him in anything where he gave a bad performance.
No, and who's the guy that's like that? He pretty much spends the whole movie going, and you put the fate of mankind in these bozos. What's his name again? That's all he does. I mean, that is literally all his lines.
That's Keith David.
Right, and at the end, you don't even see him being like, I was wrong, or standing there like this. Like, he completely just shits on them the whole way through it.
Yeah, just again a nice set. In fact, he's got quite a disturbing line a wee bit later on, but we'll get to that. The introduction to the main characters was actually pretty good. I like that. I like the kind of the change of tone. Boom. this is us now with the guys that are going to fix everything. It's the shot of the golf ball, and Bruce Willis just on an oil rig battering golf balls at a Greenpeace boat.
Yeah,
that's quite amusing. I did make me rise and shine. And he actually does point out the irony of their protest, which is amazing. He's like, "Do you know how much diesel that boat you're on is pumping out?" So I like that introduction to the characters. Bruce Willis, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's actually trying to do a southern accent in this film. And it's so poor and so slight that you almost don't even notice it. Like you think, oh, he's essentially an oil tycoon almost. He's an oil guy. He must be from the south. And he tries to do that accent. And you only hear it every now and again. He'll say things like, when you got $15 million of your own money on a contract. When you got it, what? On a contract? What happened to on? So I think there is something there to tell me. I think he was trying to do an accent and just either gave up halfway through or just wasn't that bothered about it. But
and he has hair.
That was actually it's something that I missed. I missed Bruce Willis hair. It's nice. It's nice to see. I mean, I remember thinking he looked weird in Pulp Fiction because he had no hair. And now that's just Bruce Willis now. Obviously, it happens to the best of us, except me. Just you. Oh, look at that face. He's so sensitive about his hair. So he's obviously running this oil rig. We get introduced to his kind of band of cronies. And I'll be honest, man, I don't think there's anybody that's actually unlikable except AJ. I just don't like Ben Affleck in this film. I think he was completely miscast. I didn't see the chemistry between him and Liv Tyler. I didn't buy it. I don't think I bought that whole storyline, the whole romance thing. It just didn't gel for me in this film.
I kind of agree that, and she says as well, you know, we've been seeing each other for 5 months, but then again, they probably grew up together because they all kind of raised wee Gracie. Get this right, they're on an oil rig, and Bruce Willis is running about with a shotgun shooting bullets into everything.
Yeah, that's safe.
Aye, like what guy that owns an oil rig with $50 million in his own contract wants to be running about with a shotgun firing it at everything?
Yeah, it's a rather dangerous practice, but the AJ character I think could have been played much better by somebody else. Do you know what? I think even Owen Wilson would have been more likable as that character. I think he was underutilized in this film, and it's quite a young Owen Wilson. But I think they could have used him a bit more. You only see him a few times, and then he's been wiped out. But I like Owen Wilson. I mean, he's cheesy, but he's fun and he's likable. And Ben Affleck got better with age. I think anything with Ben Affleck from, I don't know, something like Jersey Girl onwards, I'm quite happy with him. But I thought he got better as he got older.
Well, you see, that would have kind of been, would have gone something like this. Come on, Harry, I just need those 5 words. Wow, 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 wow. Wow. You see him, he's on the spaceship. He's like, so that's what Earth looks like. Wow. Can you imagine him getting that?
Oh, man, the shell's about to crash. Wow.
Mate, can you imagine if someone put sound effects in there, like a re-edit of the movie, and when he gets wiped out, it's like wow, or what? Ow!
Just change the name of the movie to the Asteroid Crashers.
Asteroid Crashers.
Wow. And then obviously you've got Michael Clark Duncan, and you've got Steve Buscemi, you've got Will Patton. You've got a decent band of characters, and all really good actors, all likable. I just don't like the fact that Buscemi is pretty much a pedo. It's like there's constant references to him just not checking people's ages before he does things to them, and it's not comfortable. But he accepted that role on the kind of proviso that his character was like a heroic, scientific, kind of brain box. It wasn't until they cast him they were like, well, we've got Steve Buscemi, let's make him a weirdo. That's what they did, and he wasn't happy with it. And also said, why did you decide to do the film after that? He was like, I wanted a bigger house. There's no better reason to do anything, and that's why we do this, because we've got 42 quid now.
But I think Steve Buscemi was great in the movie. It was a good dynamic to the team. I think that the whole pedo thing was a bit funny, but I tell myself she was probably 17 and not 18.
Moving on. So yeah, I think Ben Affleck had no charisma in this film. He had no draw. I didn't care what happened to him. I was only really interested in Harry. He really was the only person I actually gave a proper turnabout.
I liked Billy Bob Thornton's character.
Sorry, yeah, I'm just talking about the folk that go into space. Billy Bob Thornton he's Billy Bob Thornton, man. He's just brilliant in absolutely everything. This is the first thing I ever remember seeing him in. And he's a bit of a stiff character. You know, he doesn't have a lot in the way of kind of like explosively great lines, except the one F-bomb in the film, which comes way later. But he's just kind of there to kind of move the story along a little bit. But apparently the detail about him having a mangled foot was his idea. It was his idea to give his character a wee bit more of a background instead of just the sciencey guy. He was on track to be an astronaut, but then in his kind of early kind of career, when he was trying to do it, he had some kind of accident. It's never discussed what the accident is, but it is discussed that something happened to him, and that's why he was never an astronaut. So he became what he is, which is something sciencey. I looked at that.
Something sciencey. He's like, yeah, I'm here. I'm the guy that does all the stuff here.
So they decide that the most appropriate course of action to stop an asteroid from hitting the Earth is to land on it, drill into it, and blow it up. Now, that sounds like a good idea to me. You know, if you could landing on it, I'm assuming would be the hardest thing. But drilling into it and blowing it up, it sounds really plausible. I actually like that kind of premise. It seems plausible. Why you wouldn't just train astronauts to drill as opposed to training drillers to
astronaut.
Yes. To do some astronauting. I don't understand that logic. And Ben Affleck actually questioned Michael Bay on that at one point. He was sitting down with him, and he's like, Michael, why is it that you decided that you were going to train the drillers to become astronauts? It would be much easier to train the astronauts to drill. And he just turned around and said, "Oh, shut the fuck up, Ben. It didn't work." It didn't work. That's a shame. I had a bleep button, but it didn't work. Anyway. So yeah, he just told him to shut up. Even Michael Bay knows how absurd it is. He set out to make an entertaining movie, not a scientifically accurate movie. If you want a scientifically more accurate film, watch Deep Impact. That's the type of film that is. And in Deep Impact, they can't stop it. it hits with some of the worst special effects I'd seen at that time. But that's another story. So I think it's funny that they waste 18 hours flying Bruce Willis and Grace from China to NASA before telling them what the problem is. To me, it would have made more sense to pick them up, give them a briefing on the plane, tell them what's going on. I'm sure they can communicate back and forward with NASA while they're on the plane. They can get to the moon. They can make a phone call for a plane, right? Don't waste the first 18 hours. And then they've then got to spend time, rounding up all the other guys because Bruce Willis isn't happy to go into space with a bunch of guys he doesn't trust, which you think fair enough. But still, it's like a bunch of guys going into space that have no idea how to go into space. It's a bit of a risk to take. So you see Bear, Michael Clark Duncan getting picked up. You see Rockhound, that's Steve Buscemi, he gets picked up. Big Fat Max, he gets picked up. I like Max. Max is fun. He's a fun character, man. You just know he's got a really checkered past, but he's trying to be a good guy now. But Bruce Willis himself decides to go and get AJ, who he fired for essentially causing a a bit of an accident on the rig 10 minutes earlier. Now, the space of maybe a day has passed between him getting fired and getting picked up. In the space of a day, he has managed somehow, no, not get a job, start his own oil business.
He moves quick.
AJ Oil. He's got his nodding donkey set up. He's got his fence up. He's got his name on the sign. It's like that was very, very quick. So kudos to him for that one. And then they have a little exchange, and then he says, "This is a cool line." He's like, "I want you to do this job." Blah blah blah. And Ben Affleck kind of takes the piss for a minute, and then he's like, "Listen, AJ, there's not a job on this planet that I'd want you to work with me on. I mean that." And he walks away, and he's like, "What's the job?" You're like, "That's cool. I like that wee line. That was a good one." Good. So that's. We then move on to the funny scene of them all getting tested, and it's like a testing montage. We love a montage, and I'll be honest. I'll be honest, I love this montage. It was really good fun. And then you get their kind of requests or demands that they want from the government before agreeing to do this, to go into space and blow up this asteroid. And Max comes up with bring back 8-track tapes. That's class. All the things that he could ask for in the world, and he's like, "I want you to bring back 8-track tapes." What was your favorite request?
They were all right. I didn't find them that funny. I've actually forgot what ones they requested. I know the 8-track tapes one. What was the other requests?
Well, I think what's his name? Bear wanted to stay in the White House for the summer. And you had Chick. He's a degenerate gambler. Basically, he wanted to have a Emperor's Pass to Caesar salad. Caesar salad.
Caesar salad.
Caesar's Palace.
Oh,
Caesar salad. I come hungry.
Surely no.
No, you know me, mate. I love a Caesar salad.
Head back a bad man.
And none of them want to pay taxes again ever. That was
fair dues.
Aye, fair dues.
I like how they're all sitting kind of coy up on the landing. It's like when you tell your brother to go and ask your mum if he's allowed sweets tonight, and you're kind of just lingering, waiting to see if they figure out it was you that kind of came up with it.
I like when you're like primary 6 at school and you get your friend to ask somebody out for you.
Oh no, mate, I did that stuff myself.
Yeah, I didn't. I was not a confident person. So here's the funny thing, right? I don't know how much time they spend actually training them and doing the testing. It's the testing that gets me, because every one of them spectacularly fails their tests. And they still get approved.
NASA approved.
Right. Stamp. If you were going to approve them anyway, you've just wasted a lot of asteroid plummeting to the planet time for nothing. If you're going to pass them anyway, it was absolutely pointless, but it just gave us a good montage. And do you know why we had a montage? Because we need a montage. We just need one. We need montages, and it's something you don't see enough anymore. So I'm going to start a change.org to bring back the montage. An 8-track
we'll
tapes.
Never get a montage ever.
They do nothing, do they? It's actually disgusting, the fact that they do nothing. But hey, that's just it's just what happens. Billy Bob Thornton, like I said, loved him in the film. He didn't have a lot to do really, but he still had a good kind of screen presence, and it was worth having him in there. He admitted to doing this film for the money, nothing else. It wasn't for critical acclaim, obviously. He just did it for the money, and he jokes about it. He jokes about acting in it. Like he'll say he'll kind of make out that it's kind of the worst thing that he's ever done, but he will also say that it's not that bad. And that's true. It's 100% true about this film. As bad as it is, it's not that bad. It's so entertaining, and that in so many ways. It's I love Armageddon. I'm not going to lie. As much as I'm sitting absolutely tearing it apart there and ripping the piss out of it, but it's such a good fun film. Here's the thing though, they're just about to get launched into space after getting let go for a day or two to go and kind of see their family or their estranged families or their kids that they've never seen and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know.
Trying to build up a bit of character. I can see what he was trying to do, but there wasn't enough time to do it properly. I don't think they should have bothered. But that's just my whole opinion. So at the point where they're going to go into space, instead of just putting them into space, instead of just sending up the shuttle, sending up the rockets, the American president announces to the world that this asteroid is coming. Why? Why would you do that?
It was leaked.
It wasn't.
It was on the mobile phone, the old Nokia. The guy looks at his phone and it says, "Everybody now knows about Dottie." So the president then goes on.
I must have missed that part.
Yeah.
It
leaked.
Well done. Well done. So there you go. And then, but he's not subtle about it though. The Bible calls this day Armageddon. Like, settled in, mate. Take me back a minute. So you can't just drop it on people like that. It's like they would say, listen, in fact, I'll tell you right now, even if it leaked, the first thing they'd do is lie about it. It's the first thing the government would do in any country is lie about it. Because you would have mass hysteria at that point. They discussed it earlier on. It's like there's going to be like mass religious hysteria, murder in the streets. People are just going to go nuts when they find out. And then they just tell them anyway.
And everybody unifies.
Yeah. Here's the funny thing, though. This was a live broadcast, right? So he did it live to the entire world. Like you see people in different countries listening to it on the radio. Other countries are watching it on TV. It wasn't dark anywhere.
I know, and not only that, but there was a translator saying it in a different language. I suppose you could do that with a delay.
Oh, there's always a delay. There's even a delay in this. There's like 7-second delay in this. I think it's similar for live TV and stuff. But the fact that Michael Bay didn't think to himself, listen, wait a minute. It's going to be, if we show something in China and it's a live broadcast from America, it's going to be a different time of the day. So it's going to be dark. It's got to be dark somewhere, but it just wasn't. Just a total afterthought or non-thought. It was a non-thought.
Mate, he had a lot of explosions to deal with that day. Give him a break.
Of course he did. Of course he did. Do you think his alarm clock's a bomb?
Probably. But half his face is missing. He's like, I'm up.
Do you know? Considering how silly the film is, they were given access to a lot of really expensive stuff,
like
just for the sake of filming this. Helicopter, that diving pool they're in, that is actually at NASA. They actually filmed real shuttle launches. I mean, you look at that going, that's good special effects. No, that's real. They were literally allowed to put their cameras right at the shuttle pad. One of the cameras actually fell apart because of the G-forces that were coming out due to the launch. The camera, like all the screws and that fell out. They just sent it back to Panasonic like that. Like, we'll try and fix this. Nah. So just send it back. They know what they're doing.
That's mad. That's kind of crazy to think that, NASA I mean, do you think NASA are busy? Or did they set aside a day? We're not usually doing stuff. I mean, nobody's in space, so just.
I think it was pitched to them that this film was going to be like what Top Gun was for the Navy, and it was going to inspire people to apply for NASA. Excuse me. So that's why they gave them all this kind of unprecedented access. I mean, I think the pool area where they train the astronauts, I mean, that's like a restricted area. Nobody's allowed in there, yet they let them in there to do that. Because they thought it was going to be like a poster movie. It was going to inspire people to kind of come and join NASA. They must have been really struggling for applications at that point. But yeah, I think they didn't get the film they expected. It's like when Stallone did that Formula One film, Driven. Did you ever see that? Oh my God, I can smell it for here. It was such a terrible film. There's a bit where a guy's driving an F1 car up the street, pissed. And it's such a silly film. But again, similar thing. I think they were like, Stallone's doing an F1 movie. Let's give him access to everything, man. This is Stallone. He's going to bring so much more attention. Nah, it was nonsense. So they go into space and cool launch scene, all that, everything looking great. And then they get into space. And then Murphy's Law takes hold. Everything that can go wrong goes wrong and more. It's ridiculous. The amount of things that go wrong is actually ridiculous. The first thing they need to do is actually refuel, so they have to join the Mir. Essentially, I don't think it's ever called the Mir space station. I think they just call it the space station or the International Space Station. But first thing they have to do is dock with that and refuel, and then they meet cosmonaut Andropov, whatever I don't know how they pronounce it.
He's mental. He's a mad Russian.
But it's Peter Stormare, who is just excellent and absolutely everything. I mean, he was in Prison Break, Fargo. He played the devil in Constantine. He'll do anything, and he's just as charming in this film. You love him. He's just an absolute nutter.
So two of them were from Prison Break then on that asteroid, because what's his face is in Prison Break. The guy that plays the captain. He's like that. He's going to shoot Bruce Willis.
Oh, William Fichtner. Yeah, that's right. He was a great baddie. He was a great antagonist in Prison Break. Prison Break really lost its shit after a few seasons, but he is again another great addition to the crew. The cast. The crew. I can't think. I'm just thinking about the ship.
The cast of the crew.
The cast of the crew. The cast of the crew. So everything goes wrong. So they try to refuel at the space station, and of course something goes wrong, and then it blows up. Luckily enough, they all get off it. Then AJ was nearly left behind, but Hattie was like, "Nah, that's my daughter's man. I promised her before I left that I was going to kind of look after him. So even though I hate him, I need to make sure he's all right." So
hate/love.
Nah, he hates him, man. I think he appreciates what a good kind of oil driller he is. That's mentioned a few times, that somehow at the age of 25 he's the best guy he's got in the rig. I don't get that. I'm sure if you look at Chick Chapel, he's like 50. I'm sure he's well experienced at it. I don't think that somebody that's 25 would be the best guy on the rig, but he's handsome and he's got good teeth, so that's all that matters. He must be the best. So yeah, he's so that happens, and then essentially they manage to slingshot around the moon with no major hiccups. They slingshot around the moon to gain their speed and come up behind the asteroid. Now at this point they lose one of the shuttles. I think it's the Independence. You've got the Freedom and the Independence. This film couldn't be more American if it tried, man. Oh man. The fact that they used the Wile E. Coyote.
We got better rockets than the Coyote.
I actually did find that bit quite funny. We're jumping back a wee bit, but he's like they're trying to explain how they're going to do this, and Steve Buscemi's like, "Yeah, I've seen this one before." This is where the Coyote straps himself to an Acme rocket to get the Roadrunner. Is that what we're talking about here? He's like,
because that's what happened to the Coyote.
It didn't turn out too well for the Coyote.
This is the world's smallest violin, playing only for the Coyotes.
So yeah, they lose one of the shuttles trying to land on this because the debris that's coming off the back of the asteroid. So they lose the Independence, and I think they lose absolutely no major characters on that ship. We should have known that ship was the one that was in trouble, because you had Ben Affleck in that on it, and there's a good chance he could have died. He could have been Steven Seagal at that point. There's no point in having him now. Get him to buggery. But anyway, so if you'd looked at the ship, if you knew really who was on each ship, it's the way it's filmed and edited. You're actually not sure who's on what ship. I don't know if that was just my stupid brain, but I could never figure out.
Bay thing. That is definitely a Michael Bay thing. What's happening? That happened too fast. Who went there? Who's dead? Was he
really crazy editing? I mean, there's characters that show up on the asteroid, and you're like, who the fuck are you?
I know.
So if you'd get to see both crews going in properly, you'd be like, well, that shuttle's going to come down. That's the Star Trek blue shirts on there, red shirts. That's
doesn't help that
these guys are
white.
gone.
Like the both shuttles are white, and you can't really distinguish the difference between two shuttles. So you're like, what one was that? It just blew up.
Aye. Well, it wasn't until Bruce Willis shouts it. He's like, "Oh, is that the Independence?" And then somebody just hits the windscreen. Boom.
I. There's Wee Davy.
I knew you were going to say Wee Davy. It's always Wee Davy with you.
Is it?
So you even said, mate, you said that to John Edmonds, when we were talking about him having samurai fights with aliens, you said that the aliens were talking to each other, saying he's just killed wee Davy.
It's the same wee Davy. He was
if there's anybody watching this that hasn't seen the John Edmonds episode, go back and watch it. Stardust Ranch, episode 63, I think it is by memory. Go back and watch it. It's a fun interview. If it's true, wow. doubt it. Like,
you never know. But
hey, it might come back on. Yeah, it's true.
True story, man. So we confirmed that wee Davy actually was in space because he bounced off the Independent. It's always got to have that visual, that whole visual of your friend bouncing off the window just to confirm. Aye, he's dead. He's dead. How can you tell? There he's.
Push the picture lane.
No, like
my phone.
See if right, and I'm going to ask you this question. You've been hired by Michael Bay or another great director.
I've not got a nice enough ass.
And no, but they say this. Speak for yourself. I'm kidding. But they say this. They say, right,
I was.
They say, J Mac, your purpose in this movie is literally to go flying past the window, right? You're going to die. Whatever you're saying at this point is on you. Ad-lib it completely. I know that this movie has a lot of ad-lib especially between Billy Bob, Bruce Willis, and Ben Affleck, right? But you get one line to say on your way past the window. What is it you're saying?
Oh, man. I wish you'd sprung this on me before the show. I could have thought of something really good. What would I say? Oh, man. What would I say?
Do you know what I'd say? He's a picture! He's a picture!
That is a reference to something that happened on the STV News many, many years ago. I think a lot of folk aren't going to get that reference, but Google Ned on News, N-E-D, Ned on News, Scotland, and it's one of the funniest things you'll ever watch. So somebody outside the Southern General is like, yes, the hospital admissions here have been increasing. They are struggling for beds, and then you just hear, ha ha ha, picture.
I know what yours would be.
Got to admire the integrity of that reporter for just keeping on going. He's like that. Nothing happened.
I know what yours would be. It'd be, that's for Theresa May coming down.
I'll be like, watch your speed, pal.
It's cold out here.
I don't know why I'm flapping.
Because you're flying. You're trying to keep up to see this. And you can see them all looking at you as you're like, bye. Bye.
I'd be like, it's like, I've had a look, mate. You're never going to get parked.
Guys listening at home, and
is there anybody listening at home?
Yes, there is. And if there are people watching this for the first time, leave in the comment section what you would say if you had that opportunity to say one thing as you pass your comrades as they can see you on the way to the death. Oh man! So yeah, we see a corpse bounce off the window, and we're now left with one shuttle. How is it exactly? Because again, with Michael Bay, a lot happens to the point where it's like, what the hell is going on? Too much, too quick, right? Yeah. Explosions,
oversaturation of event.
Yeah. So how is it that Ben Affleck and a few others survived that shuttle smash?
Well, they were lucky enough to crash land on the asteroid. Well, the chances of that happening based on the destruction that the shuttle kind of went through on the way in with all the debris, that I'm sure that it would have veered off in any direction, but they still happened to crash land on the asteroid, and they just happened to survive. There was no good explanation given as to why. Maybe they had their seatbelts on. 20's plenty. I don't know, but they managed to survive that crash. But the other crew don't know this at this point.
Yeah, and none of them seem sad. It's
I don't
more,
know.
and
Bruce Willis does this. I think that's him sad.
yeah, because if you were up in space, if we all went up together, all of us have worked together to the point we've all raised our kids together, right? Think about this, like 30 odd years together, day in, day out, best of friends. We're up there in space, and one of our pals then on the outside getting it gaze up at you. After you finish laughing, you're probably going to be like, no, that's my pal. Right?
My ball, my fucking ball.
He owed me 500 quid. He owes me. He goes past the window like that. We have money.
I love that image. Just shoving it into space.
What's it all for? You're not getting your money. That ties with me.
Wow.
Oh yes.
Wow,
we need
wow, wow.
Let's bring it back a bit. Sorry, but this is it's too good not to. It's too good not to kind of.
We have to remind you, people watching this, we like this film. It's so stupid. It's so stupid, but it's just awesome. It's awesome in a bag. So you've got the one shuttle that made it, the other shuttle that crashed. So crash, not a good thing to happen. The one that made it to the wrong point of the asteroid, and it was just compressed iron ferrite they were having to dig into, which sounds hard. You know, it sounds like something you're not really going to be wanting to try and drill through.
No, it sounds like a wrestler's name.
Iron ferrite. the iron ferrite. I only found out who the Iron Sheik was about a month ago. So
the Sheik.
Sheik. Is it Sheik or Shake?
Sheik, the Iron Sheik. I snap your leg, Hulk Hogan. I snap your leg.
Sounds slightly stereotypical, but anyway. So the crew that did land doesn't know that there's any survivors from the other one. They try to drill through the iron ferrite. They've only got a certain number of transmissions, a certain number of drill heads, and obviously they start plowing through them really quickly. Nothing is going right, nothing whatsoever. And I'm pretty sure at some point, they're in there. It's called the Armadillo. For anybody that's seen the film, they know it's the big kind of rover type vehicle that they've got for getting around on the asteroid. I think Big Max is kind of driving that when they're trying to drill through, and everything goes to shit. They hit a gas pocket. Everything just goes to shit. That flies off into space. Max is done, and Steve Buscemi's reaction is, "Bye, Max." But I think at that point he started to go a bit bananas. He's got space dementia. Is it real?
How'd you diagnose that? I was like, see, when it said space dementia, I was like, how many people have had space dementia?
Space dementia sounds like I don't know, like a hardcore group from 1992. Space dementia.
Taking logics to its logical conclusion. It is a bit strange that he's got by God, he's got space dementia. Like,
holy space dementia, Batman.
I don't see Steve Buscemi like that. Well, God, I don't know who I am. Don't know where I am. Do you know what I mean?
He just wants to ride rockets. Ride nuclear weapons. That's a funny bit where he's just straddled the nuclear bomb that they're going to drop, and he's just...
Is it no more like he's space pished? He's pished.
We should, if we can get the rights to use the film, we should just dub over it in Scottish accents.
Oh man!
Instead of digging for oil, they're searching for iron brew. And I don't know. He's riding the nuclear warhead, just like, oh, Florida, Scotland. we can make this funnier than the shit I just said.
We could do it.
So yeah, I don't even know if space dementia is a real thing. I didn't take the time to look it up because I thought this is a Michael Bay film and he probably didn't. So I'm not going to waste my time if he wasn't willing to do that. Then I think that's the last one. That's the last attempt for the Freedom to actually drill through. They lose their last transmission, and the drill machine buggers off into space with big fat Max in it. And they're like, "Oh well, that's that. Do we just detonate it on the surface, or what? Do we just so they have a bit of conflab with back home? Then all of a sudden, they look over, and there's Ben Affleck and his armadillo with all his drill stuff because he survived after doing a massive space jump." The most ridiculous bit of the film. He does like an Evel Knievel jump on this asteroid, and you're like, "Oh, come on!" But I love it. It's so stupid. So, and by the way, you might have noticed that we spent a lot more time talking about the first half of the film when they're not in space. It's because that's the good bit of the film. That's the bit that actually is more entertaining. Once more substance. Once they get into space, it kind of just it all goes to shit, and it's still fun, but it's just not as much fun as the first half. Which in a film that, like, looking at the poster and the trailer, you think it's a sci-fi space film. This is what this is going to be. It's not. I'm more interested in what goes on the ground before they actually get up there. So we're kind of flying through this stuff, but anyway, so they all get together. Some more things go wrong, obviously. Then the nuclear bomb, the remote detonation. Sorry, in fact, what happens is they decide on Earth that they're getting too close to zero barrier, which was the kind of last point at which they could safely detonate the bomb and the fragments would pass by the Earth. They decide on Earth that they're getting too close to that. They're nowhere near ready. We should remote detonate it from here. So they do that. Well, they try to do it. So it's actually quite a funny moment. Again, quite a good moment where they start the timer on the bomb, and of course it's a 5-minute timer to give the people on the asteroid time to notice that it's ticking. So it's like that. Boss, the timer on that 9-foot nuclear weapon is ticking. I love that, but it was just like an oh shit moment. I really liked that. That was Will Patton. That was Chick. They came out with that one. So I think they basically destroy that mechanism, so it can't be remote detonated anymore, which means somebody has to stay behind to detonate it. So they decide to draw straws. Where they got straws on a fucking spaceship, I don't know.
It wasn't straws.
It was wires. It was wires. That's right. And they draw wires.
Give Michael Bay some credit here. And by the way, I might just want to point out that Harry knew he was staying there regardless of who drew the short straw. He already said, I'll do it. I'm going to stay here and dance. And they were like, yeah, no way you're not. So like, we're going to draw some straws, boy. So they draw some straws, wires. and I think based on Harry's character that he would have done the same for any one of those people.
You're probably right. I mean, I think what you said earlier might be right. I think he does hate AJ. He probably would love him if he wasn't plowing his daughter. But that's another thing. But yeah, so he offers to take Ben down to as low as they've managed to get with their drilling. They did hit the 800 feet eventually because the stuff that Harry always told AJ not to do, he did it anyway and actually did manage to get through the 800 feet. And I'd like to know, though, if the asteroid is the size of Texas, surely you'd need to drill deeper than 800 feet. But I don't know. I might be wrong. I'm not an astrophysicist. Neither was anybody involved in this film. So they managed to get down. So they take the elevator down. He's got the bomb. And at the last minute, Harry pushes AJ back into the lift and sends him back up. And I'm like, oh man, what a hero. And then Harry has a conversation with Grace, his daughter, Liv Tyler. Perfect signal. I don't know. I can't get a signal behind a tree here. But
no.
And it's a Skype call. It's face to face. This is all going swimmingly.
Notice there was never a camera on Liv either.
No,
there was no webcam in front of Liv at all.
She's just talking to nothing.
There's no microphone or anything. Usually they have a headset at least. At least like Billy Bob Thornton had a headset.
Just something. Essentially, she's sitting talking to the telly, which is quite funny when you look at it. But anyway, so he gives her a speech about how he wanted to be there to see her have babies and grow up. And I swear to God, I can feel it right now. I feel it now. Every fucking time I cry at that bit. This was even before I had my own kids. It's worse now because I've got my own kid. But that moment, I just feel my throat just tightening up like I've eaten a peanut in 2021. My throat just tightens up. Everything just wants to explode like a Michael Bay film. I can't take it, and I try and prepare myself for it every time, but it just never happens. Does that get you, or is it just me? You've got a heart. You've got a heart of stone, though, man.
That is so untrue. That's so untrue. My heart is not stone. I don't break as easily. I do all the inside crying.
So you're a shatterproof ruler.
Aye.
Remember them?
yeah, they cried on the inside. No, yeah, definitely. No, of course. I watch that and I feel just the same as anybody else watching it, especially when I have girls predominantly as my children. It's for me, it's putting myself in Bruce Willis's position.
How would you feel if you worked with a guy?
Mm-hmm.
Just say it was me, right?
Mm-hmm.
You worked with a guy, and then you find out when your daughter's 21 that all J Mack's plowing her. How do you feel about it?
Well, something similar to this has actually happened, right? So I worked with a guy, I knew a guy for years, and he was one of my close friends. And through us being friends, he got close to my sister, and now they're got a house together and pretty much a happy family. So I could say that that's the same thing, right?
Almost. And to be honest, he could probably survive with 9 fingers anyway.
But the thing is, the way I look at it, and I've prepared myself for this for when my daughters are older, is I trust that my sister and my daughters and my son will be intelligent enough. I'd like to think that I'll guide them enough through life to know that they're capable of making their own decisions. I will support them, right? I might not like every decision they make, but as long as nothing dodgy goes on and I don't have to chop people up, then it's their call, and I'll be there to kind of support and be that beacon of trust and stability that they need. So to answer your question, if J Mac got with my daughter, which would be weird as hell, right? Because you're older than me.
I really need to speak to my wife about this first.
But if a specific J Mac got with my daughter, I'd be like, well, at least I know J Mac and I know what to expect.
Right. Okay. And I definitely don't want him to be my daughter.
No, it's fine.
This guy's stupid enough to get drawn into stuff by me.
I think I'd be fine. You're all right when we. I'm kidding. I mean, in this scenario, if I was in his scenario and I had someone that I viewed, and he clearly viewed Ben Affleck as a son kind of figure. He'd obviously promised his dad, who passed away, he'd look after him. He always has kind of kept that. And I think what really, really gnawed at him was the fact that he was kind of hoping that he'd be her kind of brother, not someone that got where. And he had put his daughter on a pedestal, which all dads do, to be like, you know, you're going to make something of yourself. You're going to meet someone that's worthy of you. And he looked at himself as Ben Affleck, same kind of vein. You know, you're with me, kid. Yeah. And we're not worthy of her. Not you're not worthy of her, but we're not worthy of her. And I think that's kind of what took him for the shock. But if you did notice throughout the movie, when they're sitting in the hangar, he's like, "Where's Grace? She's sitting in the hangar." Wow, Grace is sitting in the hangar with AJ. Did I say AJ? I meant Bear. Wow. But as you notice, he sees them.
Wow.
And he gets to see what's portrayed as true love in its own form when he watches his. Which, by the way, I don't think I've ever seen a guy sit and just kiss the back shoulder of someone.
I did once. Was at a concert. The guy was not happy about it.
Were you kissing his shoulder?
No, I've never knowingly done it anyway.
It's a strange one, but I think Bruce Willis kind of saw. Right, he started to get it before they went to space.
Yeah,
he started to see it.
I think the whole romance thing between those two, it was added in later. It wasn't in the original script. This was added in because of the success of Titanic and folk love a love story and a disaster movie at the same time. So it was added in. Space. Yep, we said it at the beginning, and it's coming to fruition. So yeah, I actually do kind of appreciate that, but I still feel like that if this film was missing that romantic element, it wouldn't be missing anything. It wouldn't be, because the relationship between Harry and AJ could have been father and son, or father and son like, and that would be enough to make that moment heart-wrenching enough when he pushed him back in. But even on Affleck's way back up, he shouts, "I love you, Harry." You know what I mean? It as much as he's an asshole to him, he respects him as his boss and his future father-in-law, essentially. He respects him enough to actually tell him that he loves him. And even that bit was quite tough. Ben Affleck sold that bit quite well. I'll give him that. I will give him that one. And then when he kind of went back up to the surface and they opened it and it was him, he looked absolutely devastated. And he kind of pulled that off really well. So yeah, the bomb explodes 1 second before zero barrier. Of course it fucking does. Of course. They couldn't have made it 6. Make it 6 seconds once. Just one time. Make it not 1 second. Then it becomes a bit more believable. And this isn't an Armageddon thing. This is a movie thing. This is every single race against time with a bomb film. It's always 1 second. And it gets on my chebs. It always has. Always will. Stop it. Stop it. Fed up with it. So yeah, bomb explodes. Harry's life flashes before his eyes. He sees Grace growing up. He sees.
Oh, you've cut out J Mac. You've knocked your microphone. While you fix your microphone, we'll go to YouTube here. Smart Duck says, "Where are the chatters?" You're watching live on YouTube. If you go over to our Facebook, you'll be able to see chatters there. Or you can chat to us. I think J-Mac's just having a bit of a technical difficulty right here. Oh, he's back, J-Mac. Oh, he's not back.
I'm back.
He's back.
Yeah, sorry about that. I've got a really shitty micro USB connecting this thing because I don't have anybody to set this up properly with an XLR. If anybody knows how to do it, give me a shout, because this is an absolute nightmare. No, I've got it. I've got all the stuff, but when I plug it in, I just hear this in the background behind everything. So I'm like, I'll just use micro USB. And this cable was made by Mr. fucking Bean. It's felt to bits already. When you pay this much money for a microphone and you expect to get a decent cable, and it's just actually the most Scottish word ever. This cable is key.
Well, at least you got a cable. So
calm down, Rogan.
So Harry explodes on the big moon rock, and we see the big moon rock that was heading for Earth, and we see the whole life flash before the eyes. And I think at this point, like, it used to be that when I watched Armageddon, I got really sad and emotional about parts, him saying goodbye to Harry saying goodbye to his daughter. But there's something to the space shuttle coming back and the airplanes, what would you call them? The Spitfire things going across the sky, and all the other really high up guys from NASA coming to greet them. There's something more to that. Here's a group of guys that you've all pretty much looked at as scum throughout the whole movie, and these guys just saved mankind, for the first time in history.
Speaking of the Jabba Jabba podcast.
What? Get to.
No, it's a good kind of happy ending, except for one person. Do you remember who that is?
No.
It's Buscemi, Rockhound. He lands back on Earth and goes, right,
I-
I owe 100 grand to a loan shark.
By the way, see if you're a loan shark and you've just lent somebody 100 grand, and then you see on the news, wait a minute, this guy just saved everything. Gonna let him off with it? No, when you're a loan shark.
No, when you're a loan shark. If you're a loan shark, you're an absolute piece of shit. So no, it's not happening. But I'm sure the government would give him the money to cover it. So,
or they'd probably just lock up the loan shark. He could probably have him taken it, right?
Aye, by another loan shark, and then you owe him money.
You now owe the big man.
Pick a shoe and we'll see if your back fanny can untie laces.
Smart Duck from the comments section on YouTube asks, would it still have been a good film without Bruce dying?
Yes, because then Ben Affleck would have died. That's just happy.
I think, yeah. I mean,
I think it would have been. I think it would have been. I mean,
had they all got off, I think, you know, if they'd all got on the shuttle and got off, yeah, because I think the happy ending and the big moment would have been them coming back to Earth and Harry being able to see his daughter getting married and stuff. I think what it is it's a key point. Like whenever you say, I'll break it down for you here. You've seen Armageddon. I have seen Armageddon. I don't want to miss a thing. How sad is it when he dies at the end? Right? It's so nice that he done that for his kid. That's Armageddon. So you're just essentially taking, if he was to still be alive, Harry, and they all got off, it would be like, oh, that's a class film. I don't want to miss a thing, and that'd be it. right? Tell me, it's a key element to the movie, and I think the movie would still be good because they would have to have found another way for it to end. But I think that a movie like that has its highlights. Same way, there's so many movies like Rocky, stuff that have, you know, not only just the soundtrack, but if I say Rocky, it's, you know, hey, attacking, Adrian! Right?
Do that again.
No. Okay, fine. Adrian! Oh! I'm kidding.
Hey, you mate.
But yeah,
actually, this is just for our friend Cole McNeely. We're just going to talk about Rocky now for 5 hours.
Exactly.
Hey, Cole. So I think it was a fitting ending to a film that, honestly, it didn't deserve to be as good as it was, and it just was.
Yeah,
it was a bit of a stone killer. What does that mean?
Well, they did kill a stone at the end, right? Stones' life matter.
Jesus. SLM. Rock, paper, scissors.
Rock, paper, shuttle.
So the film, obviously, it has its issues, but we love it. Again, just a couple of other kind of interesting bits of trivia. Michael Bay considers Armageddon to be his worst film. Now, I've got news for you, Michael Bay. It's not. Everything else is. This is not. This film, it holds up well. You did a decent job with the nonsense that it is. This is not the worst film that you've ever done. Trust me, 100%. Ben Affleck has pretty much disowned this film. Even on the commentary, like we said, he takes the piss out of the film the whole way through his commentary, and it's something that I'm going to watch again at some point. I'm going to watch it with the commentary just to see what Ben has to say, and also. This now, just to tell your sources, we get all of our trivia from IMDb. At least that's where I get mine. I don't know if Kevin gets his elsewhere. That's where I get mine. Now that this is listed as trivia on the IMDb page for Armageddon. When Harry Stamper, Bruce Willis, goes to recruit AJ, Ben Affleck, at his oil rig, a 1966 Shelby GT 350 can clearly be seen. So, what's that got to do with anything? It's like when they put trivia. There's like, oh, Bruce Willis and Steve Buscemi were in this film. They were also in this film together. It's like, so what's that got to do with this film? That just annoys me. It's telling you that people that are in this film were in other films together. That's no trivia. That's just shit that happened. Heather Dow commented on loving the hoodie. That is self-promotion and it's shameless. Heather made this gorgeous hoodie for me. Kevin's is on the way, and it looks great. The great G. Tom Mack of Lost Boys fame has commented on how nice this shirt is. We spoke to him last night, and if you want to order one, 30 quid. Send it to me, and you'll get it at some point in the next year. But no, seriously, if you actually do want one of these, feel free to get in touch and we'll get one ordered because it looks awesome. I'll show you the back just so you can see it as well. I'll remember to take this off so I don't pull any cables out.
You can actually go to www.jibberjabberpodcast.com and send us an email. And you can order one there, or you can just hit us up on the jibberjabberscotland@gmail.com and we'll kit you out with that and pretty much anything else that Heather can make. Heather is class.
I think Heather sensed the episode was coming to an end and she realised that I'd forgot to mention it earlier. So thanks for
that. Can't believe you wouldn't even plug your own sister. Would you plug your own sister, Jamie?
That sounds disgusting.
Get her plugged.
Jesus Christ, man. Whew, I know I live in the country, but that's fucked up.
So in closing, bear in mind, we have a killer cover because we now are we're a professional podcast now. We're not allowed to use the stuff like intros and music and stuff, so we have to kind of come up with our own.
No copyrighted material.
So all that stuff's gone. It's a thing of the past. So as a treat to you all, we have a cover version of "Don't Wanna Miss a Thing," and it's coming up at the end of this episode. So make sure you stick around for that. The end of the episode is pretty much coming up. So
just so you know, the cover is awesome. It's really good. Now, sometimes you find covers out there, and you're like, oh my god, leave that alone. Just leave it alone. Do something else. Make your own music. This cover is awesome. We can't, as much as we'd love to use the Aerosmith one, we can't. But this cover is
next best thing.
Honestly, as soon as you hear it, you're going to want to download it. It's fantastic.
Which you'll be able to just go to jibberjabberpodcast.com, send us an email, and we'll send you the link to the cover version of it that was recorded today. Not by any of us.
Not by any of us.
Wasn't any of us. So in closing on Armageddon, J-Mac, where does it stand for you now? Armageddon. When someone says to you, let's watch Armageddon, you're going to say, yes, let's watch Armageddon, right?
100%. It still holds it holds a place in my heart. Like I say, it takes me back to my childhood, which my childhood was great. And anything that takes me back to that time, I've always got a kind of instant connection to it. And it still holds up. Like I said, special effects are good. Humor's decent, although sometimes misplaced. Also, I meant to mention, I did say that there was a rather unsavory line spoken by Keith David, which was, and I'm just going to say it because it shows you a change in the times for what you could get away with in movies. And he basically says that he wouldn't trust these guys to save the planet because essentially they're a bunch of retards with potato guns or something like that. And it makes your bumhole pucker up a wee bit when you hear things like that. You're just like, oh, So other than the things that date it, like the Saddam Hussein references and stuff like that, the film holds up, and I would give it, as a movie critic, I would give it 4 out of 10. As a film fan, I would give it 8. It's such good fun.
Yeah, I totally love it. It's always going to be one of those, like, I have it on special edition with all the commentary, 2-disc and all that. And I always said, when growing up, when I got a job and was able to earn my own money, I used to just, as you can probably see behind me, stacks, and that's with me getting rid of them. I could fill this room, right? Stacks and stacks of DVD, all the best editions of all my favorite movies, and that obviously is among them. Great movie for what it is. We've said this a million times before, J-Mac, we don't have to sit and be, that's not real, that can't be real. If we said that about everything, right? Come on, think about all the stuff that we love. All as much as this movie in certain parts kind of doesn't apply to proper logic, so what? Not every movie does, but we love it for what it is. Smart Duck via YouTube says Deep Impact wasn't a bad movie either. Correct, mate.
Not a bad movie, but not the same type of movie at all. Deep Impact is something different. Armageddon is popcorn and chewing gum. Deep Impact is a disaster movie. You know, I think it's something that, in fact, Deep Impact's almost a horror film. It's one thing that is completely unavoidable. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. This thing about going up and drilling, as plausible as it might sound, is never going to happen. If something's coming for this planet, we are all screwed. And on that note, thank you very much for listening. Kevin, do you have anything else to say?
Yeah, thank you for listening to the Jibber Jabber podcast as we return tonight with Armageddon. We will be back weekly as we always are. You guys can make sure to go and hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Smart Duck, have you hit that subscribe button, my friend? Hit the subscribe button and you can be notified with all our episodes. If there's something you'd like to see us cover, go to jibberjabberpodcast.com or even in our comments section. Tell us. We are always up for listening to what you guys want to see us do. And don't forget to subscribe to wherever you're listening. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Google, everywhere. Hit the subscribe button and become part of our community. Ladies and gents, thank you very much for listening this week. And we will be back next week live as always. And I'm going to leave you guys with an absolutely beautiful, beautiful cover of I Don't Want to Miss a Thing. J-Mac?
I just want to say one more thing. It's getting late. It's 10:15 and Armageddon to my bed.
Here it comes.
Had to do it.
Here it comes.
Bye-bye. I start again.